Today is the last and second part of the Sultana's Dream, the first feminist science fiction written by Begum Rokeya, the pioneer of feminine Renaissance in Bengal. Then let us read from Sultana's Dream. By this time, we reached Sister Sara's house. It was situated in a beautiful heart-shaped garden. It was a bungalow with a corrugated iron roof. It was cooler and nicer than any of our rich buildings. I cannot describe how neat and how nicely furnished and how tastefully decorated it was. We sat side by side. She brought out of the parlor a piece of embroidery work and began putting on a fresh design. Do you know knitting and needlework? Yes, we have nothing else to do in our 𝖁𝖏. But we do not trust our 𝖁𝖏 members with embroidery, she said, laughing. As a man has not patience enough to pass straight through a needle hole even. Have you done all this work yourself? I asked her, pointing to the various pieces of embroidered 𝕿𝖆𝖌𝖘 cloths. Yes, how can you find time to do all this? You have to do the office work as well, have you not? Yes, I do not stick to the laboratory all day long. I finish my work in 2 hours. In 2 hours? How do you manage? In our land, the officers, magistrates, for instance, work 7 hours daily. I have seen some of them doing their work. Do you think they work all the 7 hours? Certainly they do. No, dear Sultana, they do not. They doodle away their time in smoking. Some smoke 2 or 3 churros during the office time. They talk much about their work, but do little. Suppose one churro takes half an hour to burn off, and a man smokes 12 churros daily. Then you see, you waste 6 hours every day in sheer smoking. We talked on various subjects. I was very much astonished to hear that in Ladyland, no one died in youth except by rare accident. Will you care to see our kitchen? She asked me. With pleasure, said I, and we went to see it. The kitchen was situated in a beautiful vegetable garden. Every creeper, every tomato plant was itself an ornament. I found no smoke nor any chimney other in the kitchen. It was clean and bright. The windows were decorated with flower gardens. There was no sign of coal or fire. How do you cook? I asked. With solar heat, she said, at the same time showing me the pipe through which passed the concentrated sunlight and heat. And she cooked something then and there to show me the process. How did you manage to gather and store up the sun heat? I asked her in amazement. Let me tell you a little of our past history then. 30 years ago, when our present queen was 13 years old, she inherited the throne. She was queen in name only, the prime minister really ruling the country. Our good queen liked science very much. She circulated an order that all the women in a country should be educated. Accordingly, a number of girls' schools were founded and supported by the government. Education was spread far and wide among women, and early marriage also was stopped. No woman was to be allowed to marry before she was 21. I must tell you that before the change, we had been kept in strict parda. How the tables are turned, I interposed with a laugh. But the seclusion is the same, she said. In a few years, we had separate universities where no men were admitted. In the capital, where our queen lives, there are 2 universities. One of these invented a wonderful balloon to which they attached a number of pipes. By means of this captive balloon, which they managed to keep aloft above the cloudland, they could draw as much water from the atmosphere as they pleased. She explained to me how it was done, but I was unable to understand her, as my scientific knowledge was very limited. Your achievements are very wonderful indeed, but tell me, how you managed to put the men of your country into the 𝕁𝖏? Did you entrap them first? No. It's not likely that they would surrender their free and open-air lives to their own accord and confine themselves within the four walls of the 𝕁𝖏. They must have been overpowered. Yes, they have been. By whom? By some lady warriors, I suppose? No, not by arms. Yes, it can't be so. Men's arms are stronger than women's. Then, by brain. Even their brains are bigger and heavier than women's, are they not? Yes, but what of that? An elephant also has got a bigger and heavier brain than a man has. Yet, man can enchain elephants and employ them according to their own wishes. Women's brains are somewhat quicker than men's. 10 years ago, when the military officers called our scientific discoveries a sentimental nightmare, some of the young ladies wanted to say something in reply to those remarks. But both the lady principals restrained them and said they should reply not by word, but by deed, and they had not long to wait for that opportunity. Soon afterwards, certain persons came from a neighboring country and took shelter in ours. They were in trouble, having committed some political offense. The king, who cared more for power than for good government, asked our kind-hearted queen to hand them over to his officers. She refused, as it was against her principle to turn out refugees. For this refusal, the king declared war against our country. "If you cannot save our country for lack of physical strength," said the queen, "try to do so by brain power." There was a dead silence for a few minutes. Her Royal Highness said again, "I must commit suicide if the land and my honor are lost." Then the lady principal, with her 2,000 students, marched to the battlefield, and arriving there, directed all the rays of the concentrated sunlight and heat towards the enemy. The heat and light were too much for them to bear. They all ran away panic-stricken, not knowing in their bewilderment how to concentrate that scorching heat. When they fled away, leaving their guns and other ammunitions of war, they were burnt down by means of the same sun heat. Since then, no one has tried to invade our country anymore. And since then, your countrymen never tried to come out of the 𝕁𝖏? Yes. But how do you manage, I asked Sister Sara, to do without the police or magistrates in case of theft or murder? Since the Mardana system has been established, there has been no more crime or sin. Therefore, we do not require a policeman to find out a culprit, nor do we want a magistrate to try a criminal case. How my friends at home will be amused and amazed when I go back and tell them that in the far-off Ladyland, ladies rule over the country and control all social matters, while gentlemen are kept in the Mardanas to mind babies, to cook, and to do all sorts of domestic work, and that cooking is so easy a thing that it's simply a pleasure to cook. Yes, tell them. about all that you see here. What is your religion, may I ask? Our religion is based on love and truth. It's our religious duty to love one another and to be absolutely truthful. If any person lies, she or he is punished with death? No, not with death. We do not take pleasure in killing a creature of God, especially a human being. The liar is asked to leave this land for good and never to come to it again. Is an offender never forgiven? Yes, if that person repents sincerely. Are you not allowed to see any man except your own relations? No. One except sacred relations. Our circle of sacred relations is very limited. Even first cousins are not sacred. But ours is very large. A distant cousin is as sacred as a brother. That is very good. I see purity itself reigns over your land. I should like to see the good queen who is so sagacious and farsighted and who has made all these rules. Alright, said Sister Sara. I had seen from the air car the queen walking on a garden path with her little daughter, who was 4 years old, and her maids of honor. "Hello, you here?" cried the queen, addressing Sister Sara. I was introduced to Her Royal Highness and was received by her cordially, without any ceremony. In the course of the conversation I had with her, the queen told me that she had no objection to permitting her subjects to trade with other countries. But, she continued, no trade was possible with countries where the women were kept in the generals and so unable to come and trade with us. Men, we find, or rather of lower morals, and so we do not like dealing with them. We do not covet other people's land. We do not fight for a piece of diamond, though it may be 1,000-fold brighter than the Kohinoor. Nor do we grudge a ruler his pecatron. We dive deep into the ocean of knowledge and try to find out the precious gems which nature has kept in store for us. We enjoy nature's gifts as much as we can. After taking leave of the queen, I visited the famous universities and was shown some of their manufactories, laboratories, and observatories. After visiting the above place of interest, we got again into the air car. But as soon as it began moving, I somehow slipped down and fell startled me out of my dream. And on opening my eyes, I found myself in my own bedroom, still lounging in the easy chair.